What's up, guys? So wanted to go over the two differences between the DC rack from the 94 to 95 or 94 through 2001 Integra, and then the EG subframe that goes on the 92 to 95 manual subframe. So a lot of people have questions about doing the K swap in the EK with the EG subframe, and I have both of them here so I can show you the differences between the two and which one you should pick for your EK with a EG style subframe in it. That's going to make it a lot easier so you're not buying the wrong one for the wrong application. First, we're going to start with the DC2 Integra 94 through 2001. This is what you will get with a power steering rack in an Integra. You can see that the two subframes look very identical except for that mount right there. So that mount is gonna fit the power steering rack that's a bigger diameter with a different bracket on it right there for that. So if you're gonna do a EK K-swap with a power steering system and you wanna use power steering, this is definitely the subframe that you want to go with from an Integra. Now this one is from an EG. Again, it looks identical, but as you can see that mount right there does not have the notch cut out on it. And that's because it has a manual rack from the factory and it's a smaller diameter. And then that bushing right there fits on there and it's completely different as far as size wise. So if you're gonna have a EK with a K-swap and you're never planning on doing power steering, this is probably what I would look for. This one right here, you can use this with the power steering rack or with a manual rack. But again, since that has the notch right there, you're gonna have to get the spacer that goes in there that fills it up. It's like a half moon billet spacer. And then you can get another piece to put on that boot right there to fit the bigger clamp that is required to fit the manual rack. So again, the subframe from the Integra you can use with power steering or without power steering with modifying the manual rack to fit in here, or you can use the EG 9295 with a manual rack and it fits in there directly, obviously, because that's how it comes. And then that would be for a car with no power steering that you never plan on doing it with. Also, when you're doing these swaps, you will need those arms right there as well. Those are the rear control arms that come off the front control arms, obviously the lowers. So you will need those as well when you're doing a EG DC subframe, because the compliance bushings don't line up if you use those from the EK. So you will need those arms as well. Also, another piece that you will need is the steering U-joint. So as you can tell that this U-joint right here, or the shaft, is pretty small and this is a lot larger. So if your car previously had power steering in the EK, even if it didn't have power steering, it has a manual rack. The manual rack on the EK is still different as well. So you will need, if you're going to use this right here, the manual rack, you will need the U-joint as well from the EG, from the steering column to this. So you will need to get the manual rack U-joint. You have to use that. You cannot use the one from the power steering. So again, this is a lot larger. If you are planning on using a power steering rack with the subframe and an EK, you will also need an Integra U-joint as well from the column to here, because this is larger diameter than a Civic power steering rack. So you will need that one. So either way you go, you will need the U-joint that matches the rack from the EG. Also, you will need the bolts from these racks, or from these subframes. So if you're gonna do this subframe in an EK, you will need the bolts as well from the subframe itself to the car. Those are a must. You can't use the ones from the subframe in the EK. only 2 of them will work, and it's actually for the compliance bushings. So make sure and get the full setup that you need. If you are missing any of those parts, definitely hit us up. We do have parts separately that we can ship out, or of course you can come pick them up. If you have any other questions about doing this swap, again, a EG or DC subframe and an EK 4K swap, then hit me up, let me know, and we can definitely help you out with picking the proper setup for your application, because they are different, obviously. So let me know if you have any other questions or if you need any parts. We'll talk to you guys later.